thank you for talking to me. I've been so stoked to talk to you. And a huge congratulations on this kick-ass book. Damn.
Man, thanks. I'm excited to talk to you. You're like seriously killing it over there, girl. Like I'm just like, what? I remember when you started. I'm so excited for you.
I can't even believe that because I mean, you have been such instrumental part of my growth and just giving me a permission slip to kick ass and talk how I want to talk and do what I want to do. Everybody should read this book. I don't care like who you are, what you do, like this is a manifesto. And I knew that it was going to be amazing because I've been following your work for forever and I knew it was going to be so kick ass, but like, I can't read it at night when I'm in bed because I get so excited and I'm like, yes, just like shouting out.
Right? Oh, good. I'm so glad. You are really doing shit though. Honestly, like I have been all over your site. I love Lighten Up. I love everything. I love the sales page for that. I think you struck the perfect balance of you struck the elusive balance of being fun, but still like professional with it. Like you got it. But then you like throw in a fuck here and there and I love it. It's the perfect placement for it.
Well, the fact that you even like read that landing page has me smitten like a damn kitten. And I mean, let me just, I have so much to talk to you about. And so let me just say something because when I started this Clean Food Dirty Girl and this whole thing, I realized, I'm going to have to do some writing. I guess I'm going to have to do some writing if I'm going to do this online thing. And I thought, well, fuck, I can't write. I can't spell. I have like horrible grammar. I was like, how am I going
to know it?
Well, but I thought, okay, well, screw it. I'm going to do it anyways. So that's what you do, right? And I took your 6 Pillars workshop many, many years ago, which was amazing. And just getting your emails and reading your blog posts. And it has influenced my work and my writing so much. And my writing did suck in the beginning. And I can go back to old blog posts. I'm like, okay, that's where I was. But anything you do over and over again, you're going to get better at. But
good, man.
Yeah, but I have you to thank for so much of that. I really do. I mean, there's not, and I don't say that lightly because there's not a lot of people who I follow or who I like stay in touch with because I'm so busy creating content and creating shit. I just don't have time. So I have to pick and choose, but you are like at the top. You are just like numero uno for me.
Thank you, man. Seriously, thank you. Like as soon as I saw you were coming up on the schedule, I got really excited about it because it feels like a long time coming. I remember you from the Peel process. I remember that forever.
Well, here's a funny story. Okay, so I used to be Bold Vegan. And it was a horrible name. I hated the name. I didn't like it because we're not like a vegan thing. And one really big problem I had with it is because my wife, Luann, who's the co-founder of our business, is not vegan. She's not plant-based. She's from Malaysia. She will eat anything. And so, I mean, I've seen her eat crickets, I mean, she will eat anything. I mean, they're fried and like salty, so it's kind of like a peanut. But still, like she will eat anything. I was like, I don't want to do the vegan thing. I don't relate to it. And the vegans will have us like at the stake if they know that you aren't vegan. And so we really needed to rebrand. And I was on one of your Facebook Lives when I was kind of in the midst of, I was like sitting on my couch in this tiny shoebox of a house that we were living in Arizona of all places, because we were bootstrapping it and just trying to make it work. And it was a Facebook Live that you did. And I swear during that Facebook Live, I was sitting on the couch and we were in the middle of rebranding and I was considering calling it Molly Patrick. And you were saying,
I'm so glad you didn't.
Right. You were like, don't do that. And not to me, but just like in general, this was kind of the topic. Like, you don't want to call your business your name for so many reasons. And I was like, yes, that totally makes sense. And so you got on this Facebook Live, and on that live, on that couch, it went through my head just like a bolt of lightning, Clean Food Dirty Girl. And I said it to you in the live.
Did you? Yeah. Because I swear I remembered that, but I'm like, maybe I'm making that up.
And you were like, yes, that's it.
Yeah. It's so catchy. And obviously it's worked really well for you, hasn't it? Like
It's
so
sticky.
With the branding. It really does.
Yeah, and it weeds people out, which is good too, you know. But that was how the name came about. So, anyways,
I love clean food, dirty girl. Like the whole thing about it. I love the whole thing. I mean, if I were going 100% plant-based, I would totally be attracted to that brand. And I think that was the whole point. I think it's just fucking genius. You're a genius. You're killing it.
You grew up in a trailer. I grew up in a teepee. So what the hell? What's up with the like teepee trailer girls killing it?
Where was the teepee? And what color was the teepee? So many things. So many questions.
Yes. So okay. Yeah. Well, there's a white canvas teepee. It was a traditional, what you would see in like a Native American type setup. So this is hilarious. When I first met my wife, Luann, we were at the bar and she asked me where I was from. And, you know, she's like, I'm from Malaysia. And I'm like, I have no idea where that is. Because I'm American and Americans are generally pretty dumb with geography in general. And so I told her about the teepee. And the first thought in her mind was, is this an albino Native American?
Thought in my mind was that maybe you were kidnapped in Utah. Like, you know, that girl who, oh my God, terrible story. She's in my book. I talked about her. Jesus.
Oh, Elizabeth Smart. Yeah.
Brought her into the woods and made her sleep in a tent. Anyway.
Yes. Well, the teepee was like pretty cool. It was a canvas, you know, hardy canvas thing. And it was room enough for my mom and dad and myself and my brother. So there's like 5 of us in there. And it was in New Mexico. My parents were like super raging hippies. And so they had like hitchhiked all around the country. My mom totally dropped out during the 70s. She burned her bra. This is hilarious. She was in this convertible car with her husband who was taking care of her, and she had the white picket fence and all the things that, you know, she was supposed to do back then. And she hated it. She was like, I'm going to die if I stay in this house, if I stay in this marriage, because she wasn't able to do anything. She was the stay-at-home Betty Crocker, you know, mom. And so they were at a stoplight and they were hearing something on the news about women, you know, women's rights and marches. And so she, at the stoplight, she took off her shirt, she unsnapped her bra, she tied her bra around the antenna of her husband's car, and she said, I'm never wearing a bra again. I'm not doing this. I'm growing out my armpit hair. I can't do it anymore.
I love it. What a great backstory.
Yeah, so she kind of like just dropped out and took her kids and moved to like a little tiny town in Colorado and met my dad. And then they became like just, you know, hitchhiking around. So they settled down in New Mexico, bought land, pitched a teepee, and then hand built their house.
Wow.
So I had that outhouse growing up and no plumbing for a long time and no electricity. So it was a very rural, like, you know, just off the land type of upbringing. Yeah.
Fascinating. And so were you into it at the time? Were you embarrassed by it? Did you go to school? How did that work?
Yes, I mean, I've been to school, and I wasn't embarrassed when I was super little because I didn't know anything different. I thought everybody lived in a teepee. I thought everybody had an outhouse. So I was only a little bit embarrassed when I got into high school and I started having like going to sleepovers and seeing how other kids lived. I was like, whoa, this is different and weird. Like I didn't want them to come over to my house because it was so strange. And so when I was a teenager, I sort of was a little bit pissy about it. But now looking back, thank God I wasn't like, I love how I was raised now because it taught me to figure shit out.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's fascinating, Molly. It is fascinating. Some of the shittiest shitstorms are definitely the best things that ever happened to me, hands down.
Yes.
Trailer parks included.
Trailer parks included. Yes. Yeah. And I love, you know, like I had no idea that you were such a good girl, right? Like you were so just like acing everything and working really hard to get out of that culture.
Yeah, man.
Right? For something.
I look like a nice person even today, don't I? Everyone meets me and they're like, God, like I thought you were gonna be a bitch. I'm like, no, I'm actually really nice, but I have some opinions about things.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when as you were being a really good girl and killing it and acing school and doing these things, I just went the totally opposite route, and I was just drinking and partying and being like just really abusive to my body. And so, it may have started out in similar humble roots, but I went the other way to kind of just self-destruct, I guess,
Yeah.
and had to eventually turn it around and all of that. But hey, I landed here, so it's okay. I mean, I think that no matter where we start, it's like if you have that bug that you just want to do your own thing and you don't want to work for anybody else and you just want to say what you have to say, like, it's possible for anybody to create the life that they want.
Isn't that interesting too? Yeah, the two complete different directions. Sometimes people ask me that question. They say, why didn't you self-destruct?
Hmm.
And, I don't know the answer. I think so much of that has to do with so many other factors around you, things you've seen, things you haven't, whatever influences you have. But I'm curious to know. I don't know. I need to explore the question more. Why didn't I self-destruct? Why did I go in this direction?
Yeah, and but you know what? Like, I don't even think it really matters. That's just how it was.
Yeah, you're right. Because at the end of the day, what do you do with that? What do you do with
Yeah,
wherever you're at? I mean, at some point, I did self-destruct. Kmart parking lot style, sleeping in the
yeah,
car.
yeah.
That was my choice. That was my decision. Thinking I was doing something, woke, by choosing to live this humble life after all of it
Mhm.
came shattering down. And I was like, gosh, what is this? Like your
Mhm.
mom in that same moment, like, what is this? I was so pissed off that I spent, a quarter of my life doing everything right and perfect. And what did I get for that? I got a bunch of bullshit in return. And that's
Yeah.
when I got mad and started rebelling in my own ways. So I guess, yeah.
Yeah, and getting mad is a great place to start because I mean, you have to have the fire underneath you because it's not, you know, it's it's not the easiest thing to do. So you have to have some kind of fire under you to choose a life of radical self-reliance, as you say. Oh, I love that. So let's talk about radical self-reliance because fuck yeah first, and second, fuck yeah even more. I remember for so long, I was just bobbing around like, oh, I guess I'm going to go this way. Oh, I guess the current is taking me this way. And not even like realizing that, like, oh, I'm in charge. I,
Yes.
I get to direct, like, I get to be the captain of my ship. I get to direct where I'm going. And I don't know how I never got that memo. So, like, in your experience, because you come across people all the time who are like super inspired by your work. And I think that so many of us don't connect the dots of like, oh, we have a say.
Personal agency. Yeah, it's interesting. I do talk to women, especially from around the world, and that's a common theme for so many of us, where we kind of are just so heartbreakingly used to being managed and corralled and commanded and told what to do, that even when all of us are sitting here with all of the literal options on the table, we still don't know that we can actually reach out and pick one because we're waiting for someone else to tell us what we're supposed to be doing. And it's become this like ingrained feature, if you will, of our psyche, I think. And so that's why I always say that sometimes the hardest things that happen to you end up being the most useful, because when you get to that point, you don't have a choice anymore and you have to choose something else. And you realize that no one's going to choose it for you and no one's going to help you out. And you have to just go for one of them. And starting is the best thing you can do at any time, because really it doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't have to be the beginning. It can be the end. It can be the middle. But just forcing that on yourself is so useful. Sometimes people even ask me, well, what do you think I should do with my life or my business? Or business is a little different, but my life. And that's not why I set up the Middle Finger Project. I'm not qualified to tell you what you should be doing with your life. But I think the point of the Middle Finger Project is to actually say out loud, well, what is my Middle Finger Project?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you want to start a business or if you want to leave the guy. or if you want to take off and travel to Malaysia or wherever it is, one of the things that you need to get a handle on is your own personal agency, this idea of radical self-reliance, and then you need to figure out how to make some fucking money. So that's like always the thing that the Middle Finger Project really focuses on there, is how can we now use those tools to get you whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But none of us know at first what you want to do until you try stuff.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us don't realize that the thing that you really love to do, you can make money doing. There is a way to figure it out.
There's literally nothing you can't make money doing. I think that's like the easiest part of the whole thing.
Yes,
Weirdly.
and so many women would be so, and I say, well, people, but mainly women would be so flabbergasted to hear that, because I feel like that's what stops most women but the money.
And it's just, it's the literal easiest part of the whole equation is figuring out how to make money. Making money is easy to make once you actually commit to doing the thing. Figuring out what you want to commit to is always the hard part. But once you do that, it's a very mechanical process. You figure out what other people need and then you give it to them and then they give you money. It's so simple. And we really make this giant mind fuck, but it is so dead simple.
You solve a problem.
You got to figure out which problem you enjoy solving. Which one do you want to solve? You don't have to solve all of them. If you want to go and do what you've done, it's not like you have to solve every single problem that your audience has, but you have to be willing to solve one.
Yeah. In a way that's hopefully entertaining. Has to be entertaining. Yeah.
And that you enjoy doing. For God's sake, stop doing shit that you don't like doing. Like, stop it. Stop.
Yes. Yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to do shit you don't want to do. And yes, there's going to be aspects of it that aren't your favorite, but as a whole, it's what's the alternative? To hate your life? Okay, then I'm going to bet on enjoying what I do.
Yeah, it sounds weird. I've gotten the argument before where we'll have a rando show up in the inbox who's like, well, that's a very entitled perspective.
Yeah.
That you can actually like stop hating yourself. You don't have to do shit you hate. You just don't. But that's the point. It's not about, yes, there's the little stuff, Dave, the daily stuff. I don't like doing bookkeeping. I don't like going through and looking at expenses. I hate that stuff. You have to do those things. But the big picture path of what you want to be doing, fucking do a 180 today. Just start doing whatever it is that you want to be doing. You don't need anyone's permission to do it. You don't need an award. You don't need a certificate. You don't need school. You don't need any of it. Literally just go out and start wallpapering the walls if you want to be an interior designer. No one's stopping you.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
And that's weird. It's weird when we forget that we think people are supposed to be giving us the green light. There's no green light. Give it to yourself.
Yes. Yeah. I was so embarrassed for a long time. This is like many, many years ago, that I have an AA. I don't even have a bachelor's degree because I was terrible in school. I did not like school. So I have an AA in photography. And for so many years, all through my 20s, that actually stopped me from doing jack. Because I thought, well, I'm not qualified to do anything. I'm going to have to go back to school. I'm going to have to get my degrees. I'm going to have, there has to always be this, and this. And no, none of that was true. None of that was true.
I'd be curious. Right now with your business as it is, you've probably worked with several hundred people at this point, right? Have gone through your program?
Oh, yeah, thousands.
Okay, thousands. Has any one of them ever written you first and asked you what college degree you have before they buy?
No, not one.
Right?
Not one. Yes, there are exceptions. If I'm having open heart surgery, the surgeon should have a degree. Yes. But, for what I do and for what most people, if you're a writer, if you're creative, no, it doesn't matter. Nobody, and that's the other thing. Nobody cared that I got a D in fucking algebra. No one cares.
Nobody. Yeah. This conversation is not for the professionals who are looking to go into the medical field, for example. But we know who this conversation is for, and that's the thing. Like you read in the book, it's never really. It's not even a matter of knowing what to do next. It's always just the internal fuckery that keeps going on in your head over the chatter. and we worry so much about the outcome. So much. We are so invested in the outcome. It's like we
Mm.
need to know if it's going to work or not. And if we don't know if it's going to work, we don't move forward with it. But nobody knows if it's going to work. And so,
Nobody, and that's the thing, nobody knows. And I love how you hit on in your book, like the day you realize that adults like don't know what they're doing, nobody knows what they're doing.
yeah.
Like, we're all kind of making it up as we go along because we can't see the future. We're only right here now, and we have to work with what we have in front of us. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Nobody knows. I mean, I'm launching another side hustle right now as I speak because I just enjoy it and I'm having fun with it. Do I have any idea if it's going to work out? Nope. No. I'm making an educated guess based on my skills and capabilities and knowledge and what I enjoy doing. I have no guarantees, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
There are guarantees.
Right. And I think in the beginning, for people who are just starting out, you know, the chances of it failing are a lot greater in the beginning because you don't know. And so you are new. And so you like, and you talk about this in the book too. I mean, you throw ideas at the wall and you see what sticks. I mean, I wrote an ebook one time called Tootin' Free, Gluten Free. It didn't do so well. I think I sold 3 copies, but you know, then I was able to tweak and change. Like there was a lot of mishaps in the beginning, and it, you know, I just think back, like, thank God I didn't say, well, fuck it, this isn't working, I gotta quit. Because I wouldn't be where I am now if every time something didn't go just according to plan or as well as I wanted it to, I packed up, you know? So you got to just keep going and stumble and fall and find your way.
I very much enjoy looking at life as an experiment. And I think, you know, so much of what you do with your work and talking to different people and figuring out, I mean, just a recipe, for example. No one is beating themselves up if you make like an eggplant parm and it totally sucks donkey balls. Like you're not like, oh my God, I'm a failure. I'm the worst. I mean, most of the time, but you realize you did something wrong. You didn't have it set at the right temperature, or you didn't add the right ingredient, or whatever. And that's okay. And then you just try it again. And the same thing applies with all this other stuff we're talking about with life, with your ebook. It's just it's just a chemistry experiment, trying to see what makes sense and what actually.
Yeah. No, totally. I sold one Christmas, like, because it took our business like almost 2 years to make money. And so, and in that time, luckily we had a little bit of savings and we were just super, super frugal and didn't buy anything but booze and cigarettes at the time. So, you know, priorities. But it was like around Christmas and I thought, well, I take pretty decent food photos because that's what I had a degree in. We're going to sell food photo prints. And so we did it because I had an email list of about like 10,000 people before it clicked that like, okay, I need to start
selling something to them
that is going to be that's solving a problem. And that's not a picture of a fucking green bean. Right. But you try, and then you know, because you just don't know and you just keep going. But, you know, and there was one moment, I don't know if you're familiar with the website Thumbtack, I think it's called, but you kind of go and then put your expertise on there, and then people will search for somebody in that field that they need, and then they can hire you to do little jobs.
Yes.
And so I put my profile there, and I had to put my like price per hour. And this was already when we had about 10,000 people on our mailing list, but we weren't making any money from the business. And so I put my knowledge as like a plant-based recipe developer and a photographer, and I got a couple of people who were interested, and I was going to be making just like peanuts pretty much. And I was like, wait. Why am I relying on this person hiring me to help them make money? Why aren't I cutting them out and really just focusing on me, on, like you say in the book, like betting on myself?
Yes.
And it was so, like, I look back and I'm like, yeah, duh. But at the time it was such an earth-shattering revelation. Like, wait, yeah, I need to bet on me. And this was even after we started the business. And so it's a process. it's, you know, we don't get all of this all at once. Like little bits of things come to us as we go through this, and that's how you learn. But it wasn't really until I was able to step into that role of like, yeah, I can solve the problem. I can be my own, you know, bank. Like I can do this. And then I was able to go from
That phrase. Yes, be my own bank.
there.
That's exactly what happened with the copywriting agency that I was running. I mean, I started and launched a creative writing agency years and years ago, and ran it for several years. And I mean, I'm great at that. I'm really good at it. It was fun. I enjoyed it. But every single hour that passed when I was working in that and not something like the Middle Finger Project, it was the same realization. I'm helping other people build their businesses, but I should be hiring myself. I should be my number one client. And I kept coming back to that over and over again. And finally, it was inevitable. It was actually a bad business decision for me to continue on that path and not write for myself exclusively.
Yes. Yes. Awesome. You know, I had around that same time with the thumbtack stuff, when I was really trying to piece it together, I would look on gigs on Craigslist, and that's like one of the things that I love the most about making like the money that I make now is that I never have to look for another gig on Craigslist ever again.
Yep, I was there back then.
And so I got this gig at an adult diaper company, and they sold adult diapers. This is hilarious. So I met with a woman, and she ran this business out of her house. And so I'd go to her house and I would pull together sample orders of adult diapers, and, you know, like different sizes and the different types. Like, do you want the pull-up type or the Velcro type? And granted, you know, that is a business that solves a problem, like nothing wrong with that. But it was about a half an hour for me to get one way. So I was like driving an hour a day to get to this job where I was making $10 an hour. At the time, I had my newsletters, and I was sending a newsletter out every Saturday, just like I still do. And there was this woman who lived in Tucson, Arizona, where we were living, named Shelly Harris. And she had been signed up for our newsletter since we basically started. And every week when I would send one out, she would write back and say, "I love what you're doing. Keep doing it." And it was those people like in the very beginning who just kind of rooted you on that like meant the world to me. Cause I was like, oh, so, you know, if I can get this to one person and they find it helpful, then I'm going to keep going. And so she wrote back almost every Saturday, just encouraging me to keep doing what I'm doing. I was at the diaper job one day, and I was pulling an order together, and it was for Shelly Harris. And it was the same woman. She ran an old folks home in the town.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm putting diapers in the mail to Shelly Harris, the same Shelly Harris that is telling me to keep doing what I'm doing at home on my computer with myself. I was like, this isn't working, you know?
This is hysterical. Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, so I had to quit that job. And the woman I worked for is very sweet, and we're still friends, and it was, you know, whatever. But I was like, I can't, like every moment that I'm not working on my own thing, it's like I'm giving that away to somebody else, and I need to focus that energy on what I'm doing. And I thought to myself, one day I'm going to tell Shelly Harris this story. So I went back to Tucson a couple of years ago to visit my parents. They live there. And I emailed her and I was like, hey, I'm going to be in town. Do you want to have lunch? And she's like, oh my God, yeah. So we had lunch, and I told her the story of the diaper job scenario.
She died immediately, of course.
Yes.
Oh
so
God.
We're always getting those little messages, right? It's like,
I mean, in my book, I talk about having to mail out these very generic, white, shiny folders that were just, I mean, it was meaningless nonsense.
Yes.
The corporate organization I worked for. And I remember being embarrassed about those. And here you were like sending out diapers. And that's the moment when you're like, God, what am I doing with my life? Like, do I want to be spending my life mailing out binders that nobody reads versus, you know, and also do I want to be spending my life sending out diapers?
Adult diapers. It's not, no, I did not want to do that. I didn't want to do that at all. But yet I was, and I didn't have to be, you know, but there was that thing inside of me, like, because at the time too, I was really focused on the outcome of making money because like my bills needed to get paid, right? Yeah. Like I only had so much in reserves and we weren't making any money, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, I understand the struggle that people get in when they want to start their own thing and they don't have a lot of resources. but it's possible. Like not everybody who starts this stuff is like inherently wealthy. Like we grew up in teepees and trailers, right? Like, so if we can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that for me, it was very effective being in a do or die situation and having to find creative ways to make money on my own without relying on an employer or someone else to give it to me. So that was really useful. But for practical purposes, I don't know that it's the most practical thing for everyone in the universe to go sleep in a Kmart parking lot and then see what happens next. So, I mean, for the person who wants to make the transition but isn't sure how to do it, I think it is useful to be a little bit planny about this and say, okay, so right now 100% of my income is coming from an employer and 0% of my income is coming from my side hustle, for example. So now what do I need to do to, and time as well. What do I need to do to shift maybe now 5% of my time working on the side hustle? And slowly but surely try to make this transition, because eventually, hopefully 50% of your income is coming from your side hustle, 50% is coming from your actual income of the overall pie. And that's when I think it's okay. At that point, you're like, okay, now I can feel confident to maybe quit or make some kind of crazy move. But yeah. you want to have some insurance policies going on. You don't ideally want to be in the Kmart parking lot.
Right. Yeah. Ideally, yeah, sure. But the other thing, the other side of that coin too is, I never felt like I didn't want a big backup plan because I didn't want a backup.
Yes. Also, it is an excuse. You're right.
So when Luann and I, my wife, we were basically fired from our jobs in 2013. And we were like, yes, we're fired from our jobs. Now we can go do what we want to do. And we, it kind of took that to light a fire under our ass. And she has a tech background. So she did like a little bit of consulting here and there. But other than that, I felt like, okay, I can do a couple of very random side gigs, like a diaper thing. Like I'm not going to put a lot of investment and time in like making the diaper thing my main side hustle. It just might be for a little bit. But I just really felt like I was so stubborn. I just did not want to work for anybody anymore. And so I really didn't have another plan. I really put my eggs all in this basket. And you're right. I mean, that's not great advice. And I think that can be reckless advice. But for me, I wanted all my eggs in that basket, and that's how it was going to work. I'm a very all or nothing at all kind of person. And so for me, I kind of had to have that.
Yes, I will take any time and day anyone gives me a choice between kind of like learning the slow way and taking notes and watching other people do it first, and then, slowly but surely, or jumping in there trial by fire. I will pick trial by fire anytime. I don't care what it is. I mean, throw me into whatever. I mean, I've never skied before. Good. Put some skis on me and shoot me down the mountain and I'll figure it out. I've literally never skied before. So that's really something that I think would be a terrifying thing. But at the same time, while everyone else is reading about skiing, I'm out there getting better, and you just can't do that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I'm into that. That is the truth. I've never been skiing either. I didn't, people who grew up in teepees don't generally have extra funds to go skiing. So that was never part of the equation. And now I live in Hawaii, so there's no skiing for me.
That's right. You're in Hawaii. I'm in Costa Rica. I feel like we might as well just be in the same spot.
Yes, sweaty and sunburned and all.
I just can't believe I did that. It's like, what is this? My first day on Earth?
So I want to talk about, because you run this very successful business, and I don't know the inner workings of your company or how many people you have working for you or what your day to day looks like. But I do know, it takes time to write something like this. And so I kind of want to talk about how you manage to fit this in while still doing the day-to-day stuff that you have to do, because it's a lot, and we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and you didn't suddenly get 36 hours in your day. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I was just posting about this on Instagram this morning because I do to this day have a very strict schedule first thing in the morning. And that is that my very first 3 hours of every single day are dedicated to whatever passion project I want to be working on. So in that case, it was the book, and I worked on the book every single day for the first 3 hours of my day. Without fail, I did not look at emails first. I didn't answer the phone. I didn't let anyone bother me. I put my little moon on the phone, and people knew, my friends knew, like, do not fuck with her during those 3 hours. Um, and that was really great. So now that I am not in book writing mode anymore, I'm working on my other side hustle project for the first 3 hours. So it's not my main event, but prioritize it because I really try to follow the joy and follow the pleasure and whatever I want to be doing the most, whatever's lighting me up in that moment. I want to be doing that first thing when I wake up. So that's what I do, and that's how I fit it in. And then everything else came after that. So interviews would be in the afternoon, or the girls that do work for me in Slack, they know, like, you guys can post messages and you do your thing, and then let me know what you need. And when I'm done, I'll pop in here, and then I'll get my day started. But I think sometimes we all give, if you have somebody working for you, like contractors or employees, all of this free reign to kind of come and go and work as they please and do it, on their own terms. But as the business owner, you are much harder on yourself usually. You're like, I gotta be there. It's 8 a.m. I'm the business owner. Fuck all that. Yeah, I went through a phase where I felt like I was, needing to be there to show my face. And, I had to train myself out of that line of thinking. But that's how I do everything. It's those first 3 hours. I enjoy them so very much. If anyone ever took them away from me, I'd be very upset.
That's good. So it's a structured thing that you've built into your life. And is that weekends too, or is that Monday through Friday?
I tend to do it on weekends too, unless I don't, we have something else going on. If we're going on a road trip or something, it doesn't fit. But I enjoy it so much that it's like, I'm excited. Make my little coffee, and I sit down, and it's the very first thing I do. I don't put on clothes. I don't shower first. I do brush my teeth first.
So that's how you get it done, just 3 hours at a time. I just love this book. I really do. And it's just it's just like everything. It's just this nuggets of wisdom just packaged in these 2 hard covers. And I am so, and I knew it was going to be great because I know the caliber of the work that you do. And you were just so, so refreshing. And that's, anytime that I would ever in my business, like, feel stagnant or feel kind of stuck or feel like, I can get this across better, I would just go to your blog, pick out any blog post and just read it and get sort of infused with like, okay, breath of fresh air, like, got it. And then go and just do my thing. And I can't tell you how many times I have done that and how helpful just your words and the way that you present yourself to the world, and just all in your fabulous self and your clever, witty writing, and just you're hilarious and refreshing. And I can't express enough like how what you do has helped shape what I put out into the world and how I express myself and communicate and use my words.
That's the best. Honestly, first of all, Caitlin Moran is that person for me. I love her. She's a UK author, and I'm obsessed with her. So every time I feel like I'm needing a creative burst of inspiration, I will go read a page of her. But the second thing I was going to say is the most common compliment I get over and over again is simply that when other people read my voice, it helps give them theirs. And I've realized over the years that is a critical function of what I am doing here with the Middle Finger Project, and I never really would have identified that before.
Yeah.
Until more recently, when I noticed that really is the common theme. I always knew that that's kind of the Middle Finger Project. It's the point of the Middle Finger Project, but I didn't know that so much of the work was being done just by reading what I was writing and the way I was writing it, right?
Yes. It's like just knowing that somebody is out there just who said, fuck it, I'm going to present it the way that, in the way that I see it from my worldview, from my experience, without any, filters or because it should be this way or that. Like, fuck that. Just knowing that there are people out there who are putting that out and who are successful and who aren't shy to, like, just be who they are. And
Yeah.
fuck it, if it doesn't follow some thing, some 10-step thing of how you heard marketing should be or writing should be, like, it doesn't matter. Just be yourself and just let it come out of you the way that it's going to come out. And so you've certainly given me, as well as so many other women, I think, because I imagine that you have
10%.
male
10%.
10%. Okay, that's pretty big. That's about I think we were probably like 3% men until that movie The Game Changers came out and did that whole thing about men's erections being harder and longer when they eat plant-based, and now all of a sudden we have a lot of men in our community.
Oh. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's that giving me a permission slip. And why do we need permission slips? I don't know. Cause and this is even coming from a mother who was like a raging hippie who didn't wear a bra and who kind of dropped out. I mean, that just shows you how ingrained we
Yes.
are and how society has such a hold on what we should and shouldn't be doing. Because it's not just what you learn growing up in your house. And because for me, it was like the opposite of all of that. It was like, do your own shit. Yeah. Make your own way, like figure it out. But it's like, even having that, I was still very conditioned to needing permission, needing validation that didn't come from myself, needing a green light from somebody out there, needing to be qualified enough. I mean, there were just so many things of like, I was waiting on something that was never going to happen. And, and maybe it would, or maybe it wouldn't, or maybe eventually, but like, why the fuck am I waiting to do something until other people gets around to like sorting it out for me or giving me permission? I mean, it's not going to happen. And I think that radical self-reliance, I can really relate to that. And that is a lot of what I put out there to my community. And even if you're not 100% plant-based, fuck it. Like, I know, like, Luann had like pork for dinner last night. I don't care what she eats. She had a salad with it and that was cool. But no matter where you're at, it's like the drug companies and the packaged food people, they're not looking out for you like you can look out for yourself.
Sure.
So taking that responsibility, and I think that's the general theme of like, let's take responsibility for our own life.
Yes. What you just said right there was exactly what I was talking about when I was expecting, when I first got to corporate America. I expected to find these mentors. I expected sort of like society to know what it was doing and to guide appropriately. Like, I just thought, well, once you've been around for 40, 50 years, like, you probably have figured some stuff out. It's amazing how many people have not.
Yeah.
But yeah, like waiting for someone else to pick you out of a crowd and give you the job is what we all do.
Yeah.
I mean, even when you actually go job hunting, you are submitting your resume and waiting to be picked. Yeah. And I think that we've been doing that for a really long time. I don't think it's the most effective way to work anymore. I think time is changing, and I think what is possible has changed dramatically and is going to keep changing. But it all requires you to pick yourself first and to decide on whatever you want to do and to have the guts to try it. That's the only way that you're going to be able to even grow as a part of the modern economy and have this modern resume. I mean, all of your work, your body of work that you put on the internet, like, that's your modern day resume.
Yeah. Yes.
I had a resume in 12 years. Like,
yeah, what is that? And you know what? I always hated making a resume. Who even likes that? It's boring, and you're trying to make yourself look better than you are. Like, it's a horrible process.
A horrible process, and to boil it down to one page. Remember, everyone was like, you should keep your resume to one page. Be brief, be succinct. I'm like, oh my God, everyone is lacking so much creativity and wit and imagination, and it bothered me on some fundamental level. That the world just kind of operated that way. And it wasn't until I got mad enough to start taking my own chances and risks and trying to incorporate creativity into whatever work I was doing because I had to, that I realized how valuable it was, because I started being rewarded for it. Other people started noticing. And that wasn't even really what I was trying to do. I was just trying to do a good job. and
Mm.
other people picked me out of the crowd then. It was interesting. I wasn't trying to get picked anymore. And that's when I started, before I was still working in corporate. And then it was
Yeah.
like, wow, okay, well, creativity has value and
Mm.
your own person has value. And to go back to your earlier point about, having the courage to be yourself in what you're doing, especially something like your writing, it is a form of leadership.
Yeah.
And it's something that takes practice, but it is being a leader
Yeah.
and having the courage to actually think about what you think. So many times, none of us have had time to even sit down and think what we think about stuff.
Yeah.
So none of us have opinions about things because we've
Yeah.
never really thought about it before.
Yeah.
So of course that you're going to have trouble writing and coming up with an idea because you don't even know what you believe yet.
Mm.
So start there.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to think about some shit and develop some opinions. And then
Yes.
everything else flows from there. It's amazing. Then once you get some opinions, it's like, oh,
Yeah, and be brave enough just to put them out there without filtering them or worrying who they're going to fucking offend, because who gives a shit who they're going to offend? I mean, one of the best things that I see happening one of the things that I love seeing is when people leave really shitty comments on the blog or email saying, I cannot believe your language. This is not ladylike. I get that one all the time. And this woman emailed the other day, this is not ladylike. This is horrible. Or maybe it's because you aren't even a lady.
oh my gosh.
Every time I see it, I'm like, sweet, that's somebody who we weeded out effectively and they won't be back. Because when you start putting out your opinions in the way that you want to put them out, you are going to offend people. And you also talk about that a lot in the book too. Like if you're not offending somebody, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the best advice I got from my editor while writing that book was the idea that your job with this book is to make 50% of the population hate you. It was not about making as many people as possible like the book. It was about specifically and deliberately making 50% of the people who pick it up hate it. And that's a complete different reframe and a complete different way of looking at things. And when you make that the goal instead, you become so much more comfortable with being exactly who you are and saying exactly what you think because that's the goal.
Totally. And even just you saying that and hearing it, it's like so much weight comes off from your shoulders because you're like, oh yeah, it's not for everybody. It's okay. It's not meant to be for everybody. People will hate it. But also I find too, like the more I say how I feel and really put it all out there, I have way more people who really fucking love it than who hate it. And the people who love it really, really, really love and appreciate it. And that's who you want. I mean, it's just like me. Like I like fangirl you all day. And it's like, I know whatever you put out, I will be there to buy. I will be there to cheer on. I will be there to pimp. Like I know that because, it's not like, oh yeah, she's okay. I think I've heard of her. It's like, fuck no, she's the queen. Yes, get on her ship,
Yes, yes, I love that. And I think it's so important to remember too that when you set out when I set out to read anything that anyone else has ever written, whether it's a blog or a book or whatever the hell, even if it's just a piece of content floating around the internet, I am not reading that for a summary. I am reading that because I want to know what you think. I want to know what the author of that thing thinks. Whoever has an opinion about it, who's experienced it in some way, shape, or form, and has some ideas about it. I want to know your ideas, and we all want to know your ideas. So it defeats the purpose when we sit down to write something, for example, or create something, and we try to make it very generic so it doesn't offend anyone, and just make it applicable to everyone who would ever read it. You lose your own voice in the process.
Totally. And we all have ideas, and we are all so dynamic, and we are all so different from each other. That's what's so incredible. And I know that we need to wrap up soon, and I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to start on it. But I don't know, but I'm being aware of the time. But we are all so beautifully unique and imperfect and messy and just we have these world views who are, even if you grew up in the same suburb, in the same, city, in the same states, country, you're still going to be so fucking different. Even if you, like my siblings, for example, we have the same parents, but damn, we are so, so different. And so everybody's ideas are worthy. And we are such interesting creatures, aren't we? And so everybody is worthy of sharing their ideas how they're going to. And I just think and not enough people understand like how incredible it is just to be a human.
Yes, I love that. Yes, and for one final addition to that too, it's so helpful to think about it. Whatever work that you're putting out there, everyone puts so much pressure on themselves to be the best of whatever they're doing. It's like that's where the imposter syndrome starts coming in, because it's like, well, I have to, be wonderful at this, otherwise someone's paying me money and I have to be like amazing. Instead of thinking about it that way and then freezing up all the time, just focus on making the best and brightest contribution you can make today. That's all you have to do. You're contributing to a greater conversation with your ideas and your work and your experience and your talents. You are contributing and you are helping someone else, and that's all you have to focus on. And when you think about it as that, you're just simply, you are sitting here saying, hi, here's how I can help. Do you want my help? It is a wonderful, generous act, and it is not an act of an imposter or someone who doesn't belong there. We are all valuable, and everything that we think and feel and know is useful to someone else. So rock the shit out of it. We want to know your ideas.
Yes. And to wrap up, can I just read this one little blurb to wrap up, because I think it's a beautiful point to end on. So you say, you need to show up to do a different kind of work than ever before. This is the age of radical self-reliance. And it's the age where you get to reimagine the way you contribute. This is unprecedented. It's opportunity on steroids, and it's staring us in the face. But most of us are still looking for a job. There it is.
I feel like I could recite my own book. Like, it's weird. I knew exactly which lines were coming next. I've read it so many times.
Well, it's beautiful writing. And, yes, radical self-reliance. I love this message. I love your work. I love you. And I'm so honored to been able just to sit here for an hour and a little bit out of my day and get to talk with you. It's been incredible for me.
You are just the best, Molly Patrick. Sincerely, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. Sorry, I'm like kind of a little beat up and bruised up with my sunburn over here. I'm just like, oh my God, what happened to me? I do feel a little out of it today, but here we are, because these are the conversations that need to be had. Like they do. They're so important. Thanks for everyone who's made it to the end, but truly go do what the thing is that you want to do. Go try it and stop getting in your own way.
Yes.
Totally.
Yes. A million thanks to you. And go nurse that sunburn, put some aloe on. And I cannot wait to share this talk. And just thank you again for all the work that you do. Thank you for being you. It has helped my life and in turn helped people in our community. And it has a ripple effect. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to go take off my clothes now.
Okay, great idea. Okay, go pantless now. Bye. I'm going to go wipe the sweat from my armpits. Okay. Bye.